Welcome back, everybody. As promised this week, I'm talking about engagement letters, and this is probably one of the most important documents you'll sign during tax season. There's a lot in it that is important that you should be reading carefully. Back in October, because we changed a lot about our tax process here in this office to become as efficient as possible, we started sending emails out, letting everybody know what was going to happen. There's some price changes, but more importantly, that there were going to be instructions included in the engagement letter that we encourage them to read in full. And I have to tell you, we have received a lot of questions about things that they didn't understand that concerned me, because if they were asking me those questions, that meant that they weren't reading the engagement letter. So I would respond, or have responded with, I encourage you to read the engagement letter in full. This specific situation is addressed in this section so that we don't slow down the process for everybody. Because if I'm spending hours answering those questions, then I'm not doing the things that I should be doing. Now, clearly, sometimes you're still going to have questions about the engagement letter, and I'm not saying don't ask questions. All I'm saying is that read it before you sign it, ask your questions, and understand what is going on there. Now, most engagement letters are about 2 pages long of just dry, boring stuff that talk about responsibilities of the taxpayer versus the tax preparer, payment responsibilities, legal stuff, all of that fun but necessary information. Now, ours is actually 6 pages long, which is long for an engagement letter. I honestly have not seen another accounting firm that has an engagement as long as ours, but that's because our engagement letter is just so much more than just the legal stuff. Ours has 5 different sections that we try to make as unboring as possible. Yes, we've had a lawyer look at it, but it isn't written in legal speak, and we try to keep everything as easily understood as possible while also being a little bit fun. So the first section of our engagement letter is like the welcome, the overview, the introduction to tax season. It also includes what your tax preparation options are in terms of levels of service and pricing, and it gives you the option to choose between the 2 different services that we have for you in terms of those tax preparation services. So that's the first section. The second section is taxpayer responsibilities. What are you as the taxpayer responsible for? And there are some things that you need to know about that. For example, while we as a firm will guarantee the accuracy of the data we enter into the tax return, you as the tax preparer are responsible for the accuracy of the data that we enter into that tax return. So if for some reason the tax return comes back because something is missing or inaccurate, but we have entered it based off of the information you have given us correctly, then ultimately that responsibility is yours. So we bullet point these things, and it talks about each of those responsibilities in a different bullet point, just to make it as easy to understand and read as possible. The third section we have in there are the instructions. So here at Pixel, we have a very specific process to try and make the tax season as efficient as possible, but it's a team sport, which means we need the taxpayers, the clients, to do their part also, and it makes it a lot easier on them if they understand how the process works. So very important, we have different softwares that we use. We want them to be familiar with. So if they see something that comes into their email from Right Signature versus Podio versus ShareFile, they understand that that's coming from us and it's not junk, and that they know what to do with it. The fourth section is workflow. Now, this is really important because, for example, we sent our engagement letters out electronically starting on January 15th. And then the minute those are fully executed, meaning that all parties have signed those documents, it sets off a domino effect of other activities that need to get done that bring us to the fruition of the completion of that tax return. So that explains the workflow so that clients can be involved and understand how it all works. And then, of course, the final section in there is all the legal stuff, right? It's still important. It's really important that you read it. It's really important that you read the entire engagement letter. So before you go asking your tax preparers questions, make sure that you're reading the engagement letter first to make sure that that isn't already addressed in the engagement letter. And then if there's something you need clarification on, or you're not quite sure about something, then ask those questions, because that just helps the entire process and helps everything move along smoothly and efficiently. All right, you guys, next week, we're going to talk about tax organizers and why these are also very important to the tax process, and why here at Pixel, we are actually requiring that all clients utilize a tax organizer before we move forward with their taxes. We'll see you then.